Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Singular at work in West LA. That's an unplanned lane closure or ramp closure of 30 minutes or longer. It's our 10 eastbound at the 405. Two right lanes are blocked. Coming away from 4th, the busy drive. Mid-City, Santa Monica Freeway 10 west at Washington. Crash reported here with a slow commute from Elise, Vermont. Willowbrook, the 105 east, approaching Wilmington Avenue. Carpooling with a collision. Slow and go from Central. And Baldwin Park, somebody broke it down on the 10 west around Baldwin Park Boulevard, trying to clear them to the right side. We're busy from Vincent Glendora.
If your company needs to spring into efficient hiring, then check out Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers missed a great opportunity last night to take advantage of Ja Morant's absence. Morant's hand injury kept him on the sidelines, but his Memphis teammates responded. Memphis wins by 10 to even the best-of-7 series at 1-1. 6 Memphis players scored in double figures. Xavier Tillman had 22. The series comes to L.A. for the next 2 games. Game 3 is Saturday night. The Clippers are back in action tonight at home for Game 3 of their first-round series with Phoenix. The series is tied at 1-1. Kawhi Leonard has stepped up big time in Paul George's absence. Leonard is averaging 34 points in the first 2 games. Tip-off time tonight is 7:30. Tiger Woods might miss the rest of the 2023 season after having surgery on his right ankle Wednesday. The ankle has bothered Tiger since his car accident near LA in February of 2021. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
You ready?
Excuse me. Now that I have your attention, may I ask you this question? Why do you believe police brutality continues to exist in this country? Do you believe it to be a systemic problem, or should we judge police misconduct on a case-by-case basis? And what's your opinion on the best course of action to solve the problem? Well, you have come to the right place. You're listening to LA's all-new progressive talk radio station. Of the people, by the people, for the people.
Yeah, I sure appreciate that.
It's KBLA Talk 1580. And we got you covered round the clock. Racism, we got you. Progressive politics, we got you. Health and wellness education, we have you covered.
We're going to have to put it back in the hands of the people.
A black-owned and operated, evidence-based alternative radio station for progressive, open-minded people like you and me.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Welcome home, LA. We're all in this together.
Let's get it on.
It's KBLA Talk 1580, broadcasting from the heart of LA's Leimert Park. We've got a lot to talk about.
We are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about some peace.
Playing basketball. We love that basketball. They're playing basketball. We love that basketball. They're playing basketball. We love that basketball. They're playing basketball. We love that basketball.
I'm Tavis Smiley. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number, 1-800-920-1580, 1-800-920-1580. I assume Ray and Neil, I must be talking sports this hour, since that's the track that Miles decides.
That sets the mood, though, right there.
Yeah, it does.
Talking basketball.
I guess I ain't got no choice but to talk about basketball, which we will do in this hour. I'm Tavis Smiley. He's Ray Richardson. He is Neil Scarborough. Together, they host Out of Bounds on the weekends here on KBLA Talk 1580. Of course, Ray Richardson, you hear every half hour. You hear this Negro born, you hear me, or anybody else on this station. I thought about that one day. We hear your voice on this station more than anybody, because every half hour, Ray, you are giving us a sports update, my friend. I
am humbled to have that opportunity, but I will never supersede your presence on this station.
No. I don't want to be heard every half hour. I get sick of hearing myself every day for 3 hours, let alone every half hour. But we love Ray's sports reports, and we are blessed and honored to have him as our sports guy on this station. In this hour, we all recall the moment when Buffalo Bills safety Damar Hamlin went into full cardiac arrest on the field during a nationally televised game against the Cincinnati Bengals. It was a terrifying sight to behold. I was watching that night. Many of you were as well. And we all watched Hamlin receive CPR live on the field. He was later, of course, carted off and hospitalized, where he would spend multiple days in critical condition. The players were shook. The game was abruptly canceled. And now, cleared by doctors to return to football activity, Damar Hamlin has announced he plans on making a comeback to the NFL. I have one question. Would you go back? JD and Miles and I were having this conversation yesterday when the news broke. We all asked each other, would you go back? It was a fascinating conversation that I want to have with our two sports guys, Ray and Neil, in just a moment here. We'll also talk, as you heard, thanks to the Curtis Blow track from Miles, we'll talk basketball because the NBA playoffs are in full effect, and somebody last night, I think, made the mistake of calling LeBron James old. I think they're going to pay for that.
Yes,
calling
sir.
LeBron James old.
Yes, sir.
We will talk about that this hour.
Championships version is going to show up.
Yeah. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about this record-breaking contract for Philadelphia Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts, negotiated by his brilliant black female agent, Nicole Lynn, who got a huge bump. You saw the promotion she got this week at her company, which we're talking about. They made her the president of the whole sports division. You do a deal like that, now she's president of the sports division at Clutch, where she works. So it's a big deal for her, a big deal, of course, for Jalen Hurts, and a whole lot of people trying to figure out how this sister negotiated a deal that big, making Mr. Hurts the highest paid player ever in the history of the NFL, all negotiated by a black woman, as I heard many, many years ago from my mama. You want something done right? Get a black woman to do it, and that's what Jalen Hurts did, and I ain't mad at him. All right, Ray, where shall we start? I suspect we should start with giving the intro. We'll get to Damar Hamlin in a moment. Big game last night, big news last night. Lakers should have won that game last night, given that the All-Star on the other side was out last night, and they couldn't turn that into a victory. But after the game, somebody called LeBron James old. Take it away.
Let me say this, and I want somebody to pass on this message to LeBron whenever they see him, or if somebody passes on this conversation to him. LeBron James, you have my permission. You have my permission to give this dude 40 on Saturday. You don't need to come ask anybody, especially me, but if you feel like you want to do 40, you go ahead and do 40. Show this man who the king still is. Show him that you still got to respect your elders in some way. I think this is really out of context and out of character for Dylan. He might be a decent guy, but I think he's trying too hard to be the next Draymond Green. You don't need that kind of baggage, and you definitely don't do this to the marquee player in the game. You don't do that. I saw a stare down during the game last night. He made a basket and gave him the stare like they, manning up in a boxing ring or something like that. I thought that was kind of low, too. He needs to be careful. Somebody in Memphis needs to talk to him between now and Saturday and tell him to quiet down or go sit down and just get ready to play ball, because now you have awakened a sleeping giant.
Well, he said last night, I poke bears. That's a quote.
Now, I don't know what he means by that,
I
though.
Poke bears.
What does he mean by that?
Well,
He means by that, I don't have as much skills as the rest of the guys in the starting lineup, so I'm going to run my mouth. Now, Dylan Brooks was a really good player in Oregon, but he's become a little bit more of a hustle bumper, kind of, I don't call him a hack because he deserves to be in the league. But if you remember, we had a pretty famous incident on the sideline of crypto when Shannon Sharp took on the whole Memphis Grizzlies team.
Well, he was about to.
Yeah, he was about to.
They was backing up, though.
But he was backing up. But here's what he said. He said to Dylan Brooks when he came off the court, "You too small to cover Bron." And Dylan Brooks said, "You." And then he said, "Come and tell me that." So Dylan Brooks changes with the win. He has a good game and they win. All of a sudden he's talking smack. Last time when somebody told him he couldn't cover LeBron, he got all heated and up under the collar. So I think he's a little bit about mouth and reaction as opposed to consistency night in and night out. He asked to see the championships version. He wish he'd beaten the championships version of LeBron last night. He's going to get that on Saturday, and we'll see.
The flip side of this is this. What is wrong with what strategically, at least? What's wrong with trying to get inside LeBron's head? What's wrong with trying to get inside anybody's head? in any competitor's head.
The first part that might be wrong with that is that you don't have enough equity to do something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If you won some titles, if you've been in the finals and on the doorstep of a championship, you may have some reason and some clout to say some stuff like that. But you're an up-and-coming stud. You know, you're trying to get to where LeBron has been for a long time.
But until you get there, why not mess with him and try to get inside of his head?
Well, that's the risk you want to take. Now, if you want to be brash and be the new generation of basketball players and do the hip-hop version of this, you know, so be it. Bring it on. But you better be able to back it up. Mm-hmm. If he doesn't, if LeBron gives him 40, I want to see what he reacts, how his reaction is after that.
Yep. He called him old, and it's one of the biggest sports stories in the sports world today. I'm wondering, though, whether or not either of you, Neil or Ray, are willing to admit to me that there are times this season, maybe even in these playoffs, where LeBron may not look old, but looks tired at the end of the game.
Well, he definitely doesn't have the lift he used to have. He doesn't elevate like he did, 10, 12 years ago. You can see that. But I still think he's intelligent enough to get it done the way he can, the best way he can. You still don't want to put him in a situation where you're trying to challenge him and check his manhood and see where his heart is and his head is. He's not ready to retire from that. Mm-hmm. He still has shown that he can dominate a game when he's healthy enough and when he's sound enough. Now he's been hurt a little bit this year. If he's healthy enough, there are symptoms of him still being able to dominate a game and check you and get back at you. He talked some trash back last night a little bit to Dylan.
Yeah. Does he at times, Neil, looked tired to you?
Yeah, I can't help but think all of the Lakers, but especially LeBron, looked a little slow of foot last night, because they looked like the Princeton offense. They were backdooring them, and LeBron was the man on the case a couple times. The guys got to the rim and scored. So I don't know what's going on with their defensive philosophy, because he likes to come, he's great at blocking people from behind. Mm-hmm. He's great on help defense. He's not that great on one-on-one defense. And it felt like the Lakers should have put the ball in his hand more last night, because he is a good facilitator. They got Schroeder and they got D'Angelo, but they're at their best when LeBron's bringing the ball up, and that's not what they were doing last night. They were trying to get the ball to him, and I don't know if he's ready to take jump shots and win ball games.
You guys are pros, hence you're co-hosting Out of Bounds on the weekends on this station, but Miles, our board op, is like the biggest Laker fan in the building. Miles, I want to give you a chance to give your take on this. What happened to your boys last night? As you saw it as a Laker fan, these guys are pros. You a fan. What did you make of your team last night?
It felt like they didn't match the effort out the gate. And I feel as if, like Neil said, they were trying to get the ball to LeBron and make him with jump shoot. So maybe it was a little bit of fatigue. Maybe LeBron is, how old, 38, 39 years old?
38.
Understandably, if he's a little tired, it took him a lot to get to where he's at right now in the season. So I'm not surprised. But this was a game they should have won. They could have won easily. And if they let it, it was a road game for the Lakers, so I'm not surprised Memphis won. So if they take care of business the rest of the series, Lakers still win. So it's all good.
One comment, one question. Whatever you think of LeBron James at 38, he's still doing it better than most, number one. And number two, he got more miles on that bye than anybody because of all the years he's been in the playoffs, through the championship. He's played more games than anybody, I would think. There's nobody in the league anywhere near his age that's played as many games as he's played, because he's been in for so long and always playing in the playoffs.
He's only missed the playoffs, I think, twice in his
so
career.
He's played so many more. He got a lot of miles on
in finals run. He was in 8 finals in a row, so he played the last game of the season 8 years in a row.
18 out of 20 years he's been in the postseason, so he's had extra games for 18 years.
That's a lot. That's a lot of miles. Yeah. Speaking of miles, pardon the pun. Miles, you heard Ray say he gives LeBron permission to give 40. In the next game if he wants to. What do you think LeBron is going to do as a fan, given that he's been called old and everybody knows it?
I think LeBron's going to do what LeBron James normally does, is dominate his opponent, whether it be with 40 points or whether it be with a triple-double. I feel that this is the most we've talked about Dylan Brooks, and like LeBron still had 28 last night and still could have easily put up 30 the night before. So I don't see it really being too much of a obstacle for LeBron. But if you want to go for 40 King, please do it. Yeah. In LA too?
Yeah, in LA. Has LeBron said anything? I haven't seen that part of the story.
Not yet, but we may hear something later today.
Okay.
I don't know if they probably won't have access, no practice today. They'll probably be off today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, be looking out for something like that.
Yeah, you call LeBron James old. I expect at some point he will have something to say about it, even before he gets on the court on Saturday night. All right, that's the big story of LeBron being called out last night by Dylan Brooks as old. And I thought about this too, about all the other old people he offended with that comment. Your owner is old. The fans buying tickets are old. I mean, LeBron's 38, so there are a whole lot more folk in that stadium older than LeBron. And I just think it's not wise to just offend a whole swath of people by calling him old, Ray.
Oh, he's going to be accountable at some point.
Yeah. All right, when we come forward, so much more to talk about. We're talking sports in this hour. I don't often get a chance to do this for an entire hour. I'm excited about this. To have Ray Richardson and Neil Scarborough in studio. We've talked about that. Now we'll get to this big contract for Jalen Hurts. We will talk about DeMar Hamlin and whether or not you would go back if you hadn't endured what he has endured. A lot more to get to when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
The clock is ticking, and there's just a few days left before God's Trying to Tell You Something comes to town.
We interrupt this program to bring you this special report. The 2 p.m. performance of God's Trying to Tell You Something is sold out.
That's the bad news. The good news is there's one last performance. Saturday, April 22nd at 7 p.m. at the Wilshire Ebell Theater.
Get your tickets now
And be in the house.
see what everybody's talking about.
All remaining seats only $50.
But hurry before they sell out again.
Tickets on sale now at eventbrite.com and godstryingtotellyousomething.com.
It's a night of theater you'll never forget.
It's God's Trying to Tell You Something.
Be a part of the live studio audience.
He's trying to tell you something.
Don't miss it.
Periods don't care what you're doing, but your pads should. Get Always Triple Protection System in Always Day and Night Pads. Always Day Pads protect when active by wicking away gushes 2 times faster than leading store brands and giving us up to 100% leak-free and odor-free comfort. When we size up our pad at night, we get the same triple protection, plus up to 75% more coverage in the back for when we're laying down. No matter what, Always has you covered, day and night.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
Our guests in this hour, Ray Richardson and Neil Scarborough, who you hear every weekend here on KBLA Talk 1580 as host of the sports show Out of Bounds. You hear Ray, of course, every half hour on this station all day long.
That's why my voice is so tired sometimes.
Is that what it is? He's talking every half hour. It's an inside joke. I'll leave that where it is. So we're talking sports this hour. Just talked about LeBron James, in case you tuned in, and his being called old last night after that game in Memphis by Dylan Brooks. And now I want to pivot to this DeMar Hamlin story. As I said earlier, we all saw this. And if you didn't see it in real time, it was such a huge story that they played it over and over and over and over again. So the whole nation, if they weren't watching live, certainly became aware of what happened on the field that night. To see him survive this is one thing unto itself. But to hear now that he wants to come back and intends to make a comeback, has been cleared by doctors to resume football activity, as they say. It's kicked up a pretty serious conversation that I want to get you guys' take on, because obviously the question is, would you do it? If it were you, would you come back? Ray, you first.
About a week and a half after he recovered, when it looked like he was going to be okay, I saw a network news guy, just a general news guy, talking about it, and he said, if I have a heart attack, take me to an NFL stadium. Don't take me to the hospital. Take me to the NFL.
Yeah.
Because they've got some of the premier medical people in the world to help these guys out. And we saw that on live TV. I'm thinking we're about to see somebody die right there on the field. It looked that bad. He's had consultations with 3 separate heart specialists in the past week, and all 3 have pretty much told him the same thing, that you're good to go. If it was me, I'm not sure. Now, he's still young. He's about 26, still in the prime of his career, still very healthy, in great shape. The thing that worries me a little bit is that the heart jumped in the wrong way when he and the wide receiver connected in, I guess, like a perfect storm contact. The receiver from Cincinnati, I can't remember his name right now, but his helmet ran into Damar Hamlin's chest. Not a real vicious tackle, just a regular routine tackle.
Wasn't the hardest hit I've ever seen.
It wasn't.
I think it was T. Higgins.
Right. It was T. Higgins. And somehow I have seen some reports after that where it said the compression of that helmet in the right spot triggered his heart to just break down and stop.
Right.
Now, how many times do we have contacts like that in a football game? You never think about it. Could that happen again? That's the thing I'm worried about. Could a similar type play trigger that action again? That's the one thing I would be a little bit nervous about.
Yeah, it was a perfect storm in his chest. It was actually a condition they call commotio cordis, which is basically agitation of the heart. And so you get the perfect storm when you get hit and then it stops. So I guess there's some belief that that's all that happened, as opposed to that's like this terrible thing that happened, and that he's on this road back. So little known fact in the studio, so I had a heart attack 15 months ago. Right, I was up the street at the Macy's, and bam, I was laid out in the parking lot. Ambulance came, emergency surgery, all that stuff. But come to find out, I didn't have any damage in my heart afterward.
Nobody hit you in the chest.
Nobody hit me in the chest, though. And I had a closed artery I didn't know about because it was structurally off. It wasn't because of cholesterol. But the bigger point was my doctor looked at my heart a few weeks later, several weeks later, and said, "This is amazing. You have no damage in your chest. You have no." So the whole thing is, I got this clean bill to do whatever I want right now, including play football or lacrosse or basketball. Right. So sometimes you have these episodes where you got to kind of recover, but yet you come all the way back. Right. So that said, I am still a skittish individual about everything: stairs, running, you name it. So if I was Damar Hamlin, I question whether he needs to come back. I know you want to make a case, and there's lots of money on that road, but it seems like he's a guy who's going to be set up for life, whether it's via the Bills or just through his advocacy of being this guy who came back. I don't know that he needs to come back. Maybe it's in his head to prove something, but I don't know if I would come back, and if I was one of his relatives, I would ask him that question: Damar, do you really need to be back on the football field?
Well, we all know that the mentality of an athlete, you cannot tell a guy you can't play anymore. That is probably the hardest thing.
Well, that's the problem. We need to tell people that.
Well, but it's hard to tell them that. And I'm sure that, as a kid growing up, you spend your lifetime working to get to this point. You're working to get to the big game, to get that big contract, to be a star, to be adulated. You have a hard time walking away from that.
Yeah, I want to speak of the big contract. First of all, before I do that, let me just say, Neil, I didn't know that story. Thank you for the transparency. Thank you for telling it. And now when I see you, I'm going to even be more grateful to see you.
Thank you.
When I tell you, Neil, it's great to see you, I'm really going to mean that. It's great to see you, Neil Scarborough. I did not know that. Let me just ask you real quickly, how bad did it scare you?
Oh, it scared me because I was in the hospital. They're like, good thing we got to you, or you wouldn't be here. Because it was a widowmaker, as they called it. So it was definitely an epiphany. And then, when I was in the hospital, I could barely walk to the restroom across the room. It just felt like there was just so much fatigue in my chest after that episode. But I just built it back, and I went to rehab, and I feel really normal now. As Ray, I was out having a beer, beer and a shot the other day. So everything is pretty normal, but I'm still scared. And in fact, my doctor couldn't convince me I was healthy. I was like, "Are you sure?" I don't know about that. Yep.
I ran to my doctor last week. As it turns out, my annual physical was already scheduled last week anyway. Speaking of transparency, I won't leave you hanging by yourself. I went to my doctor last week for my annual physical, and again, it was already scheduled, but I was rushing to get in there because my sister, not even 2 weeks ago, had a heart attack. And here's the thing: I'm one of 10 kids. I'm one of 10 kids. And now 3 of my siblings have had heart attacks. I don't know a family where I don't know anybody who has 3 siblings who've had heart attacks. And I'm the eldest. I'm at the top, right? My sister, 2 of my brothers have all had heart attacks. And same thing, arteries clogged. In their case, bad eating, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But it just it has frightened me that 3 of my siblings, 2 of them, certainly younger than I am, significantly younger than I am, have had heart attacks. And so I ran and got my checkup last week. So first of all the brothers out there, for that matter, sisters too, make sure you do your checkups. Make sure you get in, because to the point that Neil made a moment ago, that's what they call it, widowmakers, right?
Yep.
So you got to make sure you get checked out. I don't want to belabor that point, but I just wanted to add that, since I went for my checkup last week because my sister.
Yep. And I'll just add, when you're checking your levels and like your blood and urine and everything, they check. Check your structure, because we don't check our kidneys, lungs, heart enough. We're like, oh, the cholesterol looks good, I must be okay. And I had low cholesterol, and bam. Yeah. So you don't know what's lurking, so try to find out.
Back to DeMar Hamlin. The thing that I think may be on his mind, I can't get inside his head, but Miles and I talked about this yesterday as well, that he hasn't had that big contract yet, Ray. And there's nothing else. Neil says he will probably be okay. Well, he will be okay. We people know who he is. He can certainly be a spokesman. I can't imagine the Bills wouldn't give him a front office job or something, doing something. So he won't be homeless. He won't be unemployed.
And he's a good guy too.
He's a good guy, we're told. But there's nothing like that NFL money, except Major League Baseball money. but there's so much money there, and he hasn't hit that big contract yet. I wonder to what extent he's going back, because he knows ain't nothing else in his life he's ever going to do that allow him to make that kind of money.
Well, he's doing okay. I think he's making around $3 million a year anyway at this point. Whether he gets to that big time contract, $15, $20 million a year, he probably will not get to that point. And it's sad to say that maybe the incident may keep him from getting that. There's going to be some a little bit of pushback on giving him a long-term commitment like that because of what happened.
A little skittishness,
Yeah, there might be some fear in that, but it's not to say he's not worthy.
Right.
He was a starter on that backfield. He was like one of their key safeties, and his talent is definitely proven. I mean, he's on a pretty good defense.
Yeah.
And so it's not about his ability now, but it's about what happened to him that people will never, ever be able to forget. He'll always be connected to that incident.
Well, the league always, it's infamous for how it treats its players like chattel, right? They sign you for a contract and then they'll cut your butt anyway, regardless of what money's left on the table. But, this is an opportunity for the Bills to actually say what I said and ask these questions. Was like, look, we want to set you up, but we got to take care of you. We got to make sure you do this slowly. Like I can't be guaranteeing him a spot in September. I got to see how he comes back and see how he's in the fold. Yeah. And they got to monitor this, because listen, we used to be like, hey man, bone and tissue and brain. That's what we thought suffered from the impacts of football. And now to know that your organs could be knocked off kilter. It's a whole nother approach to how we look at health on the field.
He's doing voluntary workouts with the team this week.
Right.
Now that is not a contact. There's no contact in that. You're just really pretty much getting yourself in shape. You may be running some drills, maybe run through a few plays, but no contact at all in voluntary workouts. I still would like to know how he's functioning in these voluntary workouts. What is his conditioning level at, just to go through this phase of it? Because this is just a preliminary of getting ready for a season. Things get ramped up when you get toward minicamp, which is usually in May for most NFL teams. You do contact in mini camps a little bit. Yeah. I would like to see where he's at, moving forward before training camp, because you got to be careful. You just have to got to be on notice now with something like that.
This feels weird to say. When we come forward after news, sports, and traffic, because you're going to hear Ray's voice again in just a moment with his sports. I never had this experience before to say coming up sports, and he's sitting in front of me, right? So after news, traffic, and sports, we'll come to this conversation once again, because I want to probe very quickly before we move on to some other stuff here, talking sports in this entire hour, what this does to the narrative about how dangerous professional football is. To your point, Neil, there's always been conversations about CTE, and that's what we focus on when we talk about how dangerous this game is. Now there's another way of processing how dangerous professional football is, and I want to know what you all think the narrative is going forward, particularly with his saying, I'm coming back. Again, a great deal more to talk about. Ray Richardson and Neil Scarborough in studio a few days earlier than they normally are on the weekends on Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you for joining us on this Thursday. I'm Mike Moore. Here's the latest from the Black Information Network. President Biden will announce more funding to speed up the global energy transition today when he convenes a global climate summit. The White House says Biden will announce a $1 billion U.S. contribution to the Green Climate Fund that pays for low-carbon and climate-resistant projects in developing countries. Concerns about African-American Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's failure to disclose gifts and luxury travel he received from a Republican donor are now being sent to a judicial committee. The director of the Judicial Conference of the United States wrote in a letter to a pair of Democratic lawmakers that she had passed along their concerns about Thomas and a recent report from ProPublica to the committee. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
We have an accident clearing in Long Beach on the 91 westbound at Atlantic. You're seeing some slowdown approaching from Bloomfield. On the northbound side of the 405, we had an earlier wreck working in Carson. That is clearing out of the way at Carson Street. The drive still very heavy, though, coming away from Orange Street. Slowing on the 110 northbound drive from the 105 to downtown.
If your company needs to spring into efficient hiring, then check out Indeed. Their powerful hiring platform makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers missed a great opportunity last night to take advantage of Ja Morant's absence. Morant's hand injury kept him on the sidelines, but his Memphis teammates responded. Memphis wins by 10 to even the best-of-7 series at 1-1. 6 Memphis players scored in double figures. Xavier Tillman had 22. The series comes to L.A. for the next 2 games. Game 3 is Saturday night. The Clippers are back in action tonight at home for Game 3 of their first-round series with Phoenix. The series is tied at 1-1. Kawhi Leonard has stepped up big time in Paul George's absence. Leonard is averaging 34 points in the first 2 games. Tip-off time tonight is 7:30. Tiger Woods might miss the rest of the 2023 season after having surgery on his right ankle Wednesday. The ankle has bothered Tiger since his car accident near L.A. in February of 2021. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm young, gifted, and black. KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon honoring black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Life is uncertain. It's okay to feel stressed, anxious, worried, or frustrated. It's normal. With CalHope's free and secure mental health resources, it's easy to get the help you and your loved ones need when you need it the most. Call our warm line at 833-317-4673 or live chat at calhope.org today.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a whole lot to talk about.
Hi, Maisha Cairo here, KBLA, live at Chase Bank on Crenshaw and Vernon for the In This Together tour with female business owners, a day of empowerment, community panels, and best of all, tips on building business from marketing to capital. Today I spoke with Tatiana, a community manager for JP Morgan Chase.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Tatiana Roberts. I am a community manager for JP Morgan Chase. I have to honestly say that this has been the most fulfilling position that I've ever had, where I get to give back to the community because I saw my mom's struggles. That's really what fuels what I do to make sure that that the community has all the access to the resources that my mother didn't have.
So for the mother who's in business, what are 3 quick tips you can give to ensure that they're on the right path to accessing financial support from a bank like Chase?
Say number 1, just make sure that you're checking your credit on a consistent basis and taking action to either fix your credit, maintain your credit, or rebuild your credit. The second thing would be budget. I know that B word is kind of like ugly for, right? A lot of people don't like that B word, but it has to be done. We need to tell our money where to go. The last thing is to build a network of supporters that are going to lift you up.
The community building here in Crenshaw is that network. So visit the Chase Community Center on Crenshaw and Vernon. Meet a banker today. Tell them about your business. I'm Maisha Cairo in the community for KBLA with JP Morgan Chase.
We're not for everybody, but we're for everybody. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
So one more quick thing that complicates this conversation about Damar Hamlin and whether or not if you were him, you would go back after having a heart attack on the field and the whole nation watches you. Would you go back? Miles, what are the numbers on his contract?
So it looks like this year he will only be getting a $940,000 as a base salary, and he did sign a 4-year, $3.5 million contract when he got drafted 2 years ago as a 6th rounder. So he's not guaranteed really another contract.
So the $3 million number that Ray mentioned earlier is the correct number, but that was his entire contract.
Total package.
Total package, $3.5 million. So he had a heart attack on the field. He's going back this year to make $940,000. Now we know that detail, Ray. Is it worth it?
In his mind, I'm sure he thinks it is.
Neil, is it worth it?
In my mind, it's not worth it. Yeah. Either the Bills got to come forward with a little bit more money, I just think that's not the number for me to come back on the field. Yeah. I got to get my heart straight. I'd even wait a year and come back next year for my $1 million salary next season. Yeah. But I don't know if I would come right back. I don't. Like I said, I don't know why he's got to prove this point of next season I'm back on the field.
To the average American, obviously, 940 ain't chump change.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I'd take it too, but not at the risk of my life. 940 just not enough for me to get back out.
Now, Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback in Miami, he said the other day that he almost retired after last season.
All those hits he kept taking.
Because he had like 2 concussions last season. Yeah. And both of them didn't look good for him. Mm-hmm. He was out there stumbling around after one of them. That looked bad. Because it kept happening to him, now he's making a lot more than Damar Hamlin. He was getting ready to walk away from that. He gave it serious thought. Mm-hmm. But he's going to come back and try it again. But he's facing some risk factors as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, let me pivot here. Nicole Lynn, she's a bad sister, right?
Mm. This is a new arena in the NFL, and I mean really new. And it's also very encouraging because I'm sure there are a lot of sisters who would love to be agents, but they don't get that opportunity. Mm-hmm. And not just because of the NFL, but a lot of athletes don't trust sisters to handle their business. Even brothers don't get a chance to be agents of some of these guys. There's still a mentality out there among college athletes that a white guy is going to take care of me more than a brother or sister. Mm-hmm. That's the fear factor that is out there, and that's part of our nature to be defensive. I don't know if I can trust a black person with my money. That's why you see 95% of the agents out here white men. And there's maybe a few white ladies out there doing it. But to see a sister break this barrier and do it right and then get a record-setting contract on top of that, this has got to open up some doors for the NFL, and not just the NFL, but to the players. This is on the players. The players make the decision on who they want to go with as an agent when they're in college or when they get done playing. You got to convince athletes that there are some good, talented, experienced, knowledgeable black folks who can manage your finances. But so many guys are just brainwashed. They're afraid to put their trust in black folks' hands to handle their money. This is changing that narrative a lot.
Let's put some numbers on this right quick before Neil jumps in. Excuse me. So Nicole Lynn, sister at Clutch Sports, female agent who brokered Jalen Hurts' record deal, 5-year deal. Jalen Hurts, of course, for those who are not as into sports as the rest of us are, is the quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles, young brother himself. So she negotiated a record 5-year, $255 million contract for him. But here's the cool part: $179 million.
Yes,
is guaranteed. 255, 179 guaranteed. If Jalen Hurts, God forbid, got hurt tomorrow, and he never plays football again in his life, they owe that Negro $179 million. I ain't mad at Nicole Lynn, and I ain't mad at Jalen Hurts, Neil Scarborough.
Well, yeah, I think, Ray, you bring up a big point about that reticence to trust ourselves with our money. But that is shifting a little bit. There's a little bit of this movement that, remember C. Lamont Smith, the agent out of Denver, who was like the sole NFL agent. Now there's a few of the David Mulugeta and a couple others who are showing up as qualified, legal agents like we'd expect in sheep's clothing, so to speak. But I think a little bit of the homeboy network is actually picking up a little steam where people are actually going with people they trust. Or they're asking people in their community who they should trust. So, LeBron James may have set a little bit of a precedent there by bringing his boys up. Rich Paul, getting him the tools that they need, and he represents him. But remember, the league pushed back, or the NCAA pushed back with this thing they call the Rich Paul rule, which basically said all agents need to be degreed before they can talk to NCAA prospective pro athletes. And so that was a little bit of the old boys holding on to their hierarchy and not letting this new kid show up and break the rules. So like the movement is there, obviously, because people are trying to do something about it. But the real message is people like Nicole Lynn will set the path, and David Mulugeta, who was Deshaun Watson's agent with that big contract, they're kind of setting the stage to say, put it in my hands and I'm going to do something right by you. And so I think that pendulum has a chance to start swinging and opening some eyes. And, maybe Mulugeta and Lynn and Rich Paul are the beginning of a trend.
The Rich Paul rule kind of cracked me up because I thought about it this way. LeBron goes from high school to the league. But your agent now must have a bachelor's degree to represent you.
To represent the billion-dollar empire that you've created without a degree.
I thought that was funny. Yeah, but my sense is that Nicole Lynn is going to get a bunch of phone calls. I'm sure her phone's ringing already. Ray, I hear your point about how skittish black folk are oftentimes about having agents who are black. But you pull off a $255 million deal, $179 million guaranteed, your phone's ringing from somebody.
And it already started. Even before she got Hurts done, she already had agreements with Will Anderson, linebacker at Georgia, and a running back out of Texas, Bijan Robinson. Both of these guys are going to be like top 10 draft picks.
Right. Will Anderson's at Alabama.
Alabama.
And he might be top 3.
Yeah, he might be top 3. Bijan is going to be the number 1 running back selected in the draft. Those two guys right there will probably keep her in the forefront in negotiating for high-level, high-marketable players. And that's another key stepping stone. I mean, we've seen black agents work out here before, but they always have these lower-tier athletes who may not be on that threshold of making the big-time money. She is breaking that barrier big time. She's getting guys who know they're going to make some bank, who know they got to have some financial help to keep things in order. This is just the beginning for her. I mean, she's already got a few players in the league already, not as big as Jalen Hurts, but she's got some. And now with these college kids seeing this deal with Jalen Hurts, she may have to get her own company and get her own staff together because she's going to be busy.
Well, not if Clutch Sports has anything to say about it. Yeah, no, they're going to keep her in house.
They just promoted her to president.
Well, that was a smart move. Right, a smart move to keep her because, and as a woman, she's already got somewhat of an advantage. And I'm not trying to demean her being a female, but it gives a different perspective to the contract talks at a table. Sometimes you feel more comfortable talking to a lady about your money than another dude because you don't know where this dude's head is sometimes. You just don't know. I've talked to a bunch of athletes who say, I just don't trust a black guy with my money. I've heard this.
Listen, and one thing we know in our community, I'm just shout out every sister I know, black women rule. And black women get it done. Yeah. And so that should be a point of comfort for an athlete of color that a sister is handling this business because sisters handle business.
And on Nicole's front, I think she has to be a polished, professional, no-nonsense type of female. She definitely has to let them know from the jump that, hey, I'm about business. Because if it's anything else, an athlete can see through that right away. Yeah. I've heard guys, tell me that, well, this lady want to do this for me, do that for me, but I could see there were other things on her mind than just that. She has probably broken that stereotype, number one, because if you miss it on day one, the first time you talk to somebody, and if you don't come across as being a professional, sound business woman, You're not going to get that deal.
I was impressed right quick here, watching my time. I was impressed with what she pulled off here, not just because of the numbers. The numbers are clearly the center of the story here, 255, 179 guarantee, and I ain't mad at her again. But I've told this story before on the show. I sold a pretty expensive piece of property one time many years ago, and because I wanted to keep it black, I had 2 black women hired to represent me in this property sale. And to this day, I believe, and there are a number of ways to unpack this, I won't spend our time doing it now, but to this day I believe that I didn't get everything I could have gotten off that sale because the white folk involved in the deal didn't respect the sisters.
Yeah.
So to your point, that she could get to a table with a bunch of white boys, a bunch of white guys, and come away with 255, 179 guaranteed.
That's huge.
Well, let me tell you, she had one thing her advantage. This does not diminish her skills because this number is crazy, and that is that the Eagles definitely wanted to get a deal done with Jalen Hurts. They wanted to keep him, and they also wanted to get ahead of the market before he was a free agent. And then, the quarterback price just goes up every year. So it's like it's not so much get in early, but they had some willingness to do it. Like we can look just down the road in Baltimore, and I don't know if the Ravens actually want to get this Lamar Jackson deal done. Now he doesn't have an agent, but there's a deep contrast in the Eagles saying, "Hey, let's get Hurts under contract," versus Baltimore going, "We ain't guaranteeing your money, Lamar."
You think Lamar called Nicole Lynn yesterday? 2 days ago.
I think
somebody called her for him.
If I'm in his camp, I'm saying get that lady's number and have a conversation because she can get it done. The quarterback's salary pay scale in the NFL has just skyrocketed, so she already had a parameter to work with.
Sure.
And that helped her a lot. I mean, now if you got any kind of skill level as a QB. And if you're good, you're gonna make some money now because the pay scale has gone up. I mean, there's going to be an average of $200 million for top 10 quarterbacks in the NFL going forward.
Well, whatever disrespect she may have been accorded at that table, she got past it. She made them get past it.
Yeah.
I mean, she walked away with 255 for Jalen Hurts. Again, 179 guaranteed. I'm laughing because we're talking about all of Miles' favorite teams today. He's a Laker guy. He's a Philadelphia guy, so he's happy.
Oh, he's in heaven today.
Yeah, he's in heaven, yeah. We'll continue with Ray and Neil when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward.
Twitter Inc. no longer exists. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry. Twitter Inc. no longer exists. Its incorporated name is now X Corp. This is the name of its owner and CEO, Elon Musk's long-envisioned Everything app. This is a credit to Musk's aspirations for the company. He's quoted saying he wants to turn X into the biggest financial institution in the world. Confused? Well, he'd like to turn the app into a wide-ranging service, something like China's WeChat, like a peer-to-peer mobile payment platform where users can earn interest on their cash like at a bank. He has also suggested several services in-app, including ride-hailing and food delivery. Give us your thoughts on X and more on Twitter at KBLA 1580.
Our Weekly Los Angeles is the largest audited black newspaper in the state of California with a distribution of over 50,000 copies weekly. Pick up a copy every Thursday to get the latest news on African American communities of LA. You can also keep up with what's going on in Los Angeles and surrounding cities by going to www.ourweekly.com. The Our Weekly website is updated daily with the current news about us and for us. For your advertising needs, Our Weekly offers economical advertising packages to fit your budget. Feel free to call Our Weekly Los Angeles at 323-905-1300 or visit the website at www.ourweekly.com. Our Weekly Los Angeles, reporting news that matters to you.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where everybody is somebody and nobody is a stranger. You belong here.
Got time for a few more things I want to get to since we're talking sports in this hour. So Sacramento Kings, speaking of NBA, we started with NBA, went to NFL, now we're back to the NBA because the playoffs are in full effect now. So tonight is Game 3 of the Sacramento Golden State series. They now shift to Golden State. I saw Charles Barkley, and I like Charles for the most part. He annoys me sometimes with his analysis. But he made a powerful point here, though, that the tragedy of Draymond Green being suspended for this game is that it's overshadowing the real story here, which is that the Sacramento Kings are kicking Golden State's behind, Ray.
Well, we're seeing
they're up 2-0.
We're seeing the new kid on the block.
Yeah.
That's a young, energetic team, a team that has all the pieces you need. Maybe the only thing they might be missing is just a powerful player in the middle. They could probably use somebody, but right now they don't need that. They got so many perimeter guys that can get the job done, and not just on offense, but they're D'ing you up too. And I think, and now we're seeing a little age creep in with Golden State. You know, these guys have been together now for almost 10 years. And you cannot stay at that level like Golden State was in the finals like 3 or 4 years in a row. And with that same nucleus, and at some point your time is going to run out, and this could be that year.
How much credit, Neil, do we give to Mike Brown, who sat on the bench in Golden State for a number of seasons, now the Sacramento coach, and he's kicking the behind of his former team?
Yeah, I think he deserves a lot of credit. Obviously, he's the coach of the year in the NBA, just announced this week. But, you know, if you look at the Kings, they've been the most consistent team in the West all season. More consistent than Denver, who kind of flopped at the end. Number 2 seed. Memphis had the whole Ja Morant stuff, and Steven Adams is out. Then you got the Warriors, the Clippers, Lakers. Like, nobody's really put it together all season like the Kings. So I don't think it's a big surprise that they're playing well. And I think Mike Brown deserves all the credit because they never played defense in Sacramento all those years, and they're playing defense now. And Ray, you make a good point. Domantas Sabonis is an incredible all-around player at power forward, but they might need another brick in there so that he can make it through these games without hitting the floor 23 times.
And Mike Brown has had championship pedigree long before this season.
Mm-hmm.
He was in Cleveland with LeBron for that first go-round.
Championship pedigree, but I always felt, I was about to say, and I will now, that I've always felt he has never been given his true respect. In Cleveland, not a lot of respect. They pushed him out. In L.A., not much respect at all. He gets pushed out. He ends up on Steve Kerr's bench in Golden State. Now he's getting all this love, Coach of the Year. So I'm happy for Mike Brown, just like I'm happy for Jalen Hurts. With Jalen, for me, back to the Eagles and his big contract, I felt for him when he got benched by Nick Saban in college at Alabama. Yep. And then Tua comes in, and Tua gets all the love. Jalen transfers to Oklahoma, does a good job there. But now everything's coming full circle. He's not Tua. Jalen's got the big $255 million contract. So I'm happy for Mike Brown, happy for Jalen Hurts. When we come forward in our remaining moments, one or two other things we'll get to with Ray Richardson and Neil Scarborough. You're listening to them on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, can potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
Mornings were made for better things than rheumatoid arthritis or RA. Xeljanz tofacitinib is a pill for adults with moderate to severe RA when tumor necrosis factor blockers did not work well or could not be tolerated. Xeljanz can help relieve joint pain, swelling, and help stop further joint damage. Xeljanz can lower your ability to fight infections. Don't start if you have one. Before and during treatment, your doctor should check for infections like TB and do blood tests. Serious, sometimes fatal infections, cancers including lymphoma and lung, Blood clots, serious heart-related events, tears in the stomach or intestines, and allergic reactions have happened. People 50 and older with heart disease risk factors have an increased risk of death. Tell your doctor if you've had hepatitis B or C, have flu-like symptoms, are prone to infections, or have ever had a heart attack, stroke, clot, or other heart problems, or swelling of lips, tongue, throat, or hives. Ask your doctor about prescription Xeljanz. Visit Xeljanz.com or call 1-844-XELJANZ.
Conversations that matter. You're listening to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were just saying what, Neil Scarborough? About Mike Brown?
Oh, Mike Brown wasn't just the coach of the year. He was the unanimous coach of the year. First time ever that a coach has earned all the votes earning Coach of the Year award.
Well deserved.
Yep, exactly. Good for Mike Brown. All right, we talked about the Lakers earlier, but we live in a 2 NBA team town, so we can't wrap this hour in the 4 minutes we have left without talking about the Clips. They are 1-1 with Phoenix, and they are in home tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we just talked about this. I really believe Game 2, the Clippers missed Paul George.
Mm-hmm.
That was a game they were up early for a while, and then it just got away from them. If he's not going to play in this series, then they want to see if they can get by without him. But if he's healthy enough to play in the second round, if they get past these guys in this round, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the Clippers playing for a while.
Yep. Neil, that's a big if.
Yeah, well, Kawhi looks refreshed, and they actually might be able to beat the Suns without Paul George. We'll see. But he needs a little help. To your point, Ray, it seemed like they needed a second scorer, a reliable scorer to go to.
Yeah.
Westbrook's doing his thing, but it just seemed like they stopped scoring in that game. So they're doing okay. But to your point, if they survive, I think they're going to Western Conference Finals if they get Paul George back.
I was just going to ask the age-old question that's always debated in this town: who goes farthest, Lakers or Clippers in the playoffs?
I'm a little worried about the Lakers at the moment.
Yeah.
At the moment. I think they blew a great opportunity last night to go up 2-0. They should have won that game. But, see, they didn't come out with the same energy that they played in Game 1. They were a little sluggish last night. You can't afford that because, see, if John Morant comes back and plays a little bit, then you got to change your whole game plan all of a sudden.
Who goes farthest, Neil, Lakers or Clippers in the playoffs this year?
I'm going to say Clippers. You know why? Because I think they're going to win this series, and I think they face the Nuggets. And I think they can hang with the Nuggets 6-7 games. But the Lakers next up is the Kings. They're not winning that series. The Lakers aren't beating the Kings.
No.
The Lakers aren't beating the Kings. So they're
Yeah, you see Miles. Yeah,
Sorry, Miles.
Miles' face. You should see him through that glass. I'm looking at him while you were saying that.
Did he make a face?
He made a big, ugly, nasty face.
Listen. I'm pulling for the Lakers for the first time. They're the team I'm pulling for in the West. I mean, I always root for them a little bit, but they're my team in the West.
Miles, can the Lakers beat the Kings? Neil says no.
Lakers can do anything they set their minds to.
Oh, here we go.
I love it. Finally here, we were talking earlier about the game in San Francisco tonight, only because Golden State, a couple seasons ago, moved from Oakland after all those years into the city of San Francisco. Right. And so now somebody else is leaving Oakland, Neil.
Yeah, that's right. So Raiders are in Vegas. Warriors are in San Francisco, and the A's announced today they just bought some land also in Las Vegas. So Oakland is 0 for 3 as far as holding on to their teams, and the A's, who only get 10,000 people a game, are on their way out of town, and that's a sad statement about that sports hub that used to be Oakland.
Yeah. That's funny. Everybody in Oakland is leaving for Vegas.
That might be a statement about the city, too, the way the city might be going down, with the economy and stuff like that. It could be just... sports teams feel like they can't make any money there anymore, and if you can't make money in your town, you're going to find where you can make it at.
And more and more, all these teams tap into municipal coffers anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And if you're a city, Oakland, struggling to make it, you ain't got $200 million to be given to some sports owner.
And if a team comes to you want a new stadium and you can't afford to give it to them, then you're pretty much saying that. They're going to pack up.
Yeah, the new cities are always a little bit more motivated. They're like, we'll give you a package because you're moving to us. And the other cities like, we're just trying to keep you, and they play off each other, and then the team wins and the fans lose.
And there's money in Vegas.
Yeah, there is a whole lot of money in Vegas. Not mine. I don't do that.
Oh, they got mine.
They got yours. Yeah,
they had a little bit of mine too.
Yeah, not mine. I don't get a chance to do this often, but I'm delighted to have had Ray Richardson and Neil Scarborough in studio for this hour, Talking Sports. They host, of course, Out of Bounds every Saturday at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580. And, of course, you hear Ray's voice every half hour as our sports guy, which you're about to hear right about now when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.